Hey, what is up? It's Not a Newbie back again with yet another stream. Hope you guys are all doing well. Having a good day, I hope. Well, I'm gonna need to turn the volume down on my end. All right. We've got a lot going on. It's gonna be a crazy day. First story that I'm gonna be covering is absolutely insane.
Said in the chat.
It's pretty crazy, pretty serious. Hey, Mr. Pizza, what's up? All sorts of things going on, kind of in the cycle today. But yeah, I think the biggest story, at least the story that a lot of people, at least most people, are going to be focusing on is going to be Joe Biden's State of the Union address. That's one thing we'll definitely be focusing on today. Hey, DJ LL, what is up? Oh, nice. Did you? You should share the drawing in the Discord. But yeah, one of the big things that we'll be following today is reacting to, I'll be reacting to the entirety of Joe Biden's State of the Union address that's slated to begin in about 20 minutes or so. I've got a, one story that I want to cover, not just do a reaction, I've actually cover it. So hopefully I'll be able to do that before the State of the Union address begins. I'm hoping that, who is it? I think I want to go with Associated Press on this one for the video feed. Hopefully they don't block it. Also, if you guys are interested in tech at all,
DJ LL reacts.
Yo.
Chat.
If you guys are interested in tech at all, check out Athene, the AI Athene show. This dude's been going around doing like AI interviews of all these streamers. Is pretty funny. Let me see. Let me pull this up here. Hold up. I'm gonna cut the music short here in a bit because I'm really gonna want to get into the story because I do want to make sure I give it the proper coverage that it needs.
Mr. Pizza. Said in the chat.
Oh, yo, check this out.
Need to send Giga Chat a lot of moist critical videos.
Yo, this is fire. Wait, hold on. Wait, oh, is this like a self-portrait?
Lennox O.
That's pretty deep, pretty dope if that's what this is. I am a little bit curious as to, is that like a lamp? Do you have like next to you? Maybe you guys can see it on stream. It's above me here. Is that like a lamp? Or like a light? Or like a lantern or something like that? I'm a little bit confused as to what that is. But the colors are nice too. You did a good job of picking like complementary colors that blend together and work together pretty well. In the background of it gives a very like ethereal feel to it because everything seems pretty grounded, but then it's just like the background's very like abstract. It's hard to tell if you're like indoor or outdoors. It's interesting and unique take or approach to go with it. It's very nice. That's pretty well done. That's a cool art style. Hey, what's up, Linux? We got a big crazy story. Oh my goodness, I don't even know. Well, let's see here. It's craziness, absolute craziness. But I do feel like it probably needs to be covered. Anyways, for those of you who are particularly familiar with me or my content, especially my gaming content, you guys know that I used to attend in-person Cedarville University. It's a great school. I really enjoyed it. Depending on who you ask, some may say it's a good school, some may say it's a bad school. A lot of people have varying opinions of the university, but I personally like it, and I personally enjoyed my time there. I will look back on that time fondly. One of the aspects that Cedarville University has is chapel. And the beginning of chapel, sometimes they have like these like little like announcements that they do beforehand. And today's announcement at Cedarville University, which by the way is a Christian university, had a little bit of a unique announcement. It's not the type of announcement that they usually do.
As you may already be aware from your email, there's a topic I want to speak to this morning, to share with you and give you some thoughts on. And so this morning on campus at approximately 8 a.m., a male student was involved in some circumstances and stabbed by another student in the lower level of the Stevens Student Center. Campus security and the Cedarville police responded promptly to assess and address the situation. The student who was stabbed did not appear to have life-threatening injuries and has been transported to an area hospital, and the other student is in custody.
Now, I could play the rest of this, but more information has come out than what the university has said. Hold on, let me skip through here and see if
Situation remains under investigation as a developing. This is certainly some sobering news to our campus community. And I want to first of all assure you of your safety on our campus, that we have a wonderful team of people who are laboring regularly and around the clock for your safety.
And that was good. I appreciated a lot of their statements focusing on the fact that campus is safe. The incident happened rather quickly. The incident occurred rather quickly. So, there was no ongoing threat to students, but Cedarville University did do a really good job. They did a great job of communicating that, hey, this is not an ongoing threat.
Along the way, I recognize this might bring about some difficulties for you to process yourselves, and we're here for you. As a campus community, we will walk together, and as we walk together, we do so in unity. And so some resources are available to you. If you would like to, you could reach out to your resident director to talk, and also we have walk-in availability reserved at counseling services. And so you could go there in the Stevens Student Center to access that at counseling services. Along the way, we recognize we live in a world that has brokenness, and that there are two students right now who in that are navigating some different circumstances in life. And we want to pray for them and appropriately respect privacy as a community, as is appropriate for us. And along the way, I would ask that we pray as a community. In these moments where our peace is challenged, I think of Philippians 4 and the words of the Lord that say, the Lord is at hand. Don't be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And in this time, that's my prayer for you and for us as our community.
So, on the face of it, not a bad response to the whole situation, kind of explaining to everyone exactly what went down, kind of like what the status was at the time. That was, that morning, and kind of explaining everyone the situation, explaining to everyone that everything is not, everything on campus is, people are safe now on campus. But as the story developed, it got a little bit more interesting. So the initial statement from Cedarville University basically here said, that student got stabbed. So by the way, let me break down the general, the general like play-by-play of everything that happened. Basically, a male student got stabbed by a female student. The female student had stabbed the male student in the lower level of the main student's center, and then shortly thereafter, the law enforcement was called. Someone had called 911, and I think the person who actually stabbed the guy was on the scene. Was originally reported as being cooperative with law enforcement. Once law enforcement had arrived on the scene, the guy was taken to a hospital, and then the lady who stabbed the individual ended up getting arrested. So for several hours, there were not a whole lot of updates. But then at like 3 p.m., we did get a new update here, basically saying that everything's still under investigation. The female student was in custody pending charges. And yeah, they're still doing an investigation. So, the full story is not quite out yet. And let's see here. This is kind of some news coverage of the whole situation, and it had some interesting things in here that I was kind of guessing was the case, such as the fact that this is very unique. Something like this has not happened at Cedarville University before. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
A student is hospitalized after being stabbed on the Cedarville University campus, and another student is in custody. That incident shaking up the campus early this morning. 2 News reporter Nijat Pettyholm has new information tonight.
This is not a common thing here at Cedarville University. From my understanding, this is the first time this has ever happened.
Around 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, police say a female student stabbed a male student on a lower level of the Stevens Student Center.
Officers arrived on scene and found a young man that was bleeding.
Campus security was first on scene and rushed in to help.
They arrived quickly on scene, managed the situation, controlled the bleeding of the victim, and awaited the arrival of Cedarville police.
The student who was taken to the hospital and the woman accused of stabbing him is now in custody. Dr. Wood, the vice president of Student Life and Christian Ministries, gathered students in the chapel to talk about what happened and help them process.
We recognize we live in a world that has brokenness, and that there are 2 students right now who in that are navigating some different circumstances in life, and we want to pray for them and appropriately respect privacy.
Dr. Wood also reassured students that they are safe on campus and that there is no threats to the campus community.
Now, I certainly do hope that something like this does not happen again, that we don't have copycats or anything like that. It seems like the worst of the situation is certainly over. So to kind of like wrap things up, what we know is that one student was stabbed. That person was arrested. The person who did the stabbing got arrested. The person's actually been charged with let me pull up the charges here. The person ended up getting charged with aggravated felonious assault as well as tampering with evidence. Kind of interesting considering the fact that she was originally reported as being cooperating with evidence with law enforcement. So yeah, one person is arrested for stabbing the guy. The guy was in the hospital and he was on the mend. They actually released him from the hospital, so he has shown at least some signs of improving health. So it's kind of a crazy story. There are all types of theories going around right now, but as of yet, no confirmation of the various theories. Many of the theories seem to be focusing on pointing the blame for the entire situation, figuring out whether or not the woman who did the stabbing was trying to do this as a premeditated act of violence, or focusing on the guy. Rumor has it that the dude may have been having signs of having behavior that was harassing in some way. But an interesting thing too is that the guy who a lot of people on campus thinks got stabbed, that individual has not yet been identified or confirmed to be the person who got stabbed. Meanwhile, we do know who did the stabbing. So a lot of things are up in the air. We don't know a whole lot, but I'm hoping that more information is made known, just so that people can kind of have some semblance of closure about the whole situation and understand exactly what happened and why, so that people aren't kind of left around being like, oh, well, this is something that could happen again. How do we know this stuff like this is going to happen again? To be honest, considering the fact that John Wood did say, things about like privacy and whatnot, and to be fair, I think a case for that can be made. I'm not saying the name of the person who did the stabbing, for example. but I do think that at least the Cedarville University community should know what happened and what went down, just to give people, closure about the whole situation. Because I think it would just not be good for them to kind of ignore what happened and basically be like, yeah, go take some counseling and then kind of like brush it under the rug. There are some rumors going around saying that, for example, the person who got attacked was, it's like the son of a faculty member that has not been, proven true or false yet. I think it would certainly be helpful if it's true for Cedarville to come out and say, no, this individual is not the son of a faculty member. I just think that would be a good thing. But at the end of the day, the best we can do is just sit back and pray. And in the meantime, do what we can to keep ourselves safe. I say I'm not on campus anymore, but I know a lot of people who do, a lot of people who play, Minecraft with me and Halo with me on stream are still on campus at Cedarville. So definitely make sure that you're doing what you can to protect yourself and keep yourself safe. And if there's someone who you may suspect of being like a violent person or something, don't, put yourself in a vulnerable situation. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself and keeping yourself safe. But yeah, it's a crazy story. Let's see. Let me check the chats here. DJ Ellis says, do you personally know the person who did the attack? No, I do not. See, I'm so far removed. I was like class of 2018. The individual who did this, I don't want to go too far. It's not doxing because it's public information, but I think, the individual, as far as I know, is a minor, which is one reason I don't want to say. Another thing too is, acts of violence. I generally don't like running around sharing names publicly of folks who have committed acts of violence, because I don't want copycats and things. Those are never good. But multiple years younger than me, multiple classes below me, we have not even been on campus at the same time. Let's see here, and I just want to do a test here. Let's see here. Okay, so in about 5 minutes, Joe Biden is expected to speak in front of Congress. So we have that going on. Then it says, are you going to start with the Netflix drama? I actually already did a segment talking about the Netflix drama. I just have not, I just haven't made a video out of it yet. But yeah, I actually already talked about it. I spent like 20-30 minutes last stream talking about this situation. But yeah, DJ L, it's interesting. As soon as I heard the situation, I know so many people at university. The first thing I did was like, yo, do I know? I really started friends. I was like, yo, do I know the person who did the stabbing? Do I know the person who got stabbed? And the answer to both was a pretty resounding no. I think if the answer was yes to the person who got stabbed, someone would have reached out to me and been like, yo, do you know this dude you knew who got stabbed? Bro, that's whack. Like, but nobody reached out to me saying anything to that effect. But also, again, the person who got stabbed has not been, identified yet, at least publicly. And it has not been going around in any of the rumor mills I'm in either, so.
DJLL reacts. Said in the chat, did you talk about the Liberator last night?
I did not. I ran out of time. Because it got late. No, I didn't stream last night. I streamed on Sunday night. My new schedule is Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. I did not talk about the Liberator on Sunday night because I ran out of time. But I will be talking about the Liberator, Lord willing, at the end of this, towards the end of this stream. So, the big thing I want to make sure that I do, beyond kind of covering the whole situation that occurred at Cedarville, is I want to focus on this State of the Union address that Joe Biden is going to be giving here today. That's supposed to be starting in a matter of minutes. We're 2 minutes away from the scheduled start time of that event, so that should prove to be interesting. I think there's probably going to be a GOP response And then after that, I have a whole lot of stories that I want to get to. We just have a lot here. There was some drama in the Card 3 Discord that they wanted they wanted my thoughts on, so I might take a look at that. Yeah, it's gonna be a long night of news, a long night of reactions. I'm not sure how much Joe Biden is going to say that people will find particularly shocking, interesting, or new. I don't know what kind of announcements he'll make, except whether or not he's running for president. If he was going to say something about that, that would certainly be interesting, for sure. But all that to say, no, I did not talk about the Liberator last night. Oh, goodness. And also, we've got that earthquake that killed a whole lot of people. I don't know what it is, but I feel like lately there have been a lot of events where like tons and tons and tons of people have been killed, more than like usual. There was a terrorist attack in like Pakistan that killed like 2,000 people. Now we've got like an earthquake, maybe not 2,000 people. I think it was a few hundred people. Let me double check that. Let me fact check myself.
Breaking news: I made chocolate milk.
Oh, breaking news! DJ made some chocolate milk. Very interesting. We have some first-hand reporting of that story. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Yeah, it was a bombing of a mosque. And how many people died in that? I thought a few hundred people had died in that bombing. Let's see here, but maybe not. So in that case, in that story, 225 people were wounded, over 300 people were in the building, and over 100 people died. It's an older article, so it's going to have some older information. But that's not even the latest news. In the latest news, there was a massive earthquake that was extremely deadly. And it's just been a staggering death toll. It's climbed since I even checked it last. I last checked it, 5,000 people had died, and now the death toll is up to 7,000 deaths. So it's absolutely, it's just crazy. I've been seeing a lot of people doing fundraisers, folks we don't even usually see donating money, like Hassan Piker, setting up charities and donation funds for it. So that's been really great to see. A lot of people, kind of turning to God and offering up prayers. So that was also great to see. But overall, it's just a very, very heavy news day. I told you guys it would be a crazy news day of things to cover. Dude gets stabbed in my old college, and then 7,000 people die in an earthquake in Turkey and Syria. Absolutely wild, absolutely crazy. Sorry if you don't have like the usual jokes that I do when I'm live and on the air. There's only so many tasteful jokes that you can make about, earthquakes and stabbings. So I figured I would leave well enough alone. Kind of stay in my lane there. But yeah, we're over here waiting for just waiting for Joe Biden to give this presentation and to give this speech. I didn't even have a filler topic set up to talk about, because I didn't anticipate. See, and here's the thing I should have anticipated. I should have anticipated Joe Biden being late to the State of the Union address. Now, of course, this is just 2 minutes. A lot of times, presidents are like 10, 15 minutes late to the State of the Union addresses. So I should have factored that in. But I don't know. I wanted to make sure that I didn't get any of my coverage cut off. And, as things look right now, I'm actually not going to get anything cut off at all. Let's see here. But any of you guys who are in the Discord right now, And I'm gonna. This is like gonna be a topic of a future video, a future segment on my stream. So this is not gonna be right now. But if you are at all interested or knowledgeable about politics at all, let me know in the description or not in the description. Let me know in the chat or in the comment section who you guys think is gonna run for president or who you would like to see run for president. Especially if you're a Democrat. And I know a lot of my viewers tend to be Democrat. They tend to be left-leaning. But a lot of them are lefties. So, especially on that end, I would like to see who you guys are rooting for, because the Democratic Party just doesn't have a lot going for it in the terms of roster and, the amount of people who have political ambition, willpower, and acumen to have a successful run for president. Not just win the nomination, because there are a handful of people who I think, yes, they can win the nomination, but also winning the presidency as well, the general election.
DJLL reacts. Said in the chat. King Harkinian for president.
Not gonna lie, I feel bad because I think that you've made this reference before. I think you've made this reference. Oh, this is King Harkonnen. Okay. Wait, what? What is this? Wait, what?
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm paid for. That's what it's all about.
Oh, yo, insensitive. Read the room. Come on. Yeah. No. I'm very timely. I don't know enough about King Harkonnen. But hey, I'm willing to give everyone a shot. I watched the presidential debates that have King Harkonnen in them, and I'll let you know my opinion. But yeah, we're still waiting on that presidential debate. I'm also going to be covering the GOP response because I'm quite sure there is going to be a GOP response following this. A lot of people tend to forget that, but yes, there most likely will be a GOP response. I don't know who's going to be carrying the GOP response. Anybody in the chat know who plans on carrying the GOP response? Because I'm not seeing any feeds for that at the moment. But again, these are all like YouTube premieres, so the case could be that those premieres for those streams just hadn't been set up yet. Which actually, now that I think about it, is probably why I've missed. Oh, hold on, wait, never mind. Homeboy's here. I'm gonna turn on the auto ducking just to make this sound like a little bit more natural. I will also keep the TTS rolling the entire stream. So if you guys want to, throw in your thoughts, those will absolutely drown out poor Joe Biden's voice. But yes, anyone in the chat, please drop in a link if you guys happen to know who will be covering the GOP response to Joe Biden's president, address to the State of the Union. I do plan on reacting to that, so it'd be helpful to have that link on hand. Also, by the way, if you're new to the stream, join the Discord. You can influence the things that I cover, the things that I react to, and just give me ideas and thoughts and inputs on my content and on my streams. Link is in the description below. You can easily find it at dscrd.ntnwb.cc. It'll automatically redirect you to my Discord server. Also, I did find an interesting tidbit of news. I was not able to find the link to the presidential to the GOP response yet. Hold on, give me a second. I was not able to find the link to the GOP response yet. However, I was able to find the individual who will be giving the response. It's going to be Sarah Huckabee Sanders. An interesting choice for sure.
Governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
It's certainly going to be an interesting choice. I mean, she is fairly inoffensive, but also, as far as I know, not entirely noteworthy. So that'll be interesting. By the way, Noah Chapman, if you missed my earlier segment of this stream, I did do a coverage of the stabbing that happened in Cedarville University. So if you want to just go rewind that, I'll also be editing that and making a clip of it tomorrow. Just wanted to kind of have a little repository of everything that's been going on. Make sure that everyone's up to date and has all the information.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor to present to you the President of the United States.
It's Kevin McCarthy. I do plan on doing in another segment eventually a sort of report card judging how he's been doing as Speaker.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, please. Mr. Speaker,
So the feed.
President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, good to see you guys up there.
All right, we've got the first family up there. I completely forgot how much filler these presentations tend to be. It's like 20% clapping and applause.
By the way, Chief Justice, I may need a court order. She gets to go to the game tomorrow, next week. I have to stay home. Got to work something out here. Members of the Cabinet, leaders of our military, Chief Justice, Associate Justice, Retired Justice, the Supreme Court, and to you, my fellow Americans. You know, I start tonight by congratulating the 118th Congress and the new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
Okay, that's great. This is a very classy move. You know, for him to extend an olive branch to the Republican Party. I was not expecting that as a first move. That's a good look for Biden. And I'm not even a Republican.
Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you.
That's funny.
And I want to congratulate the new leader of the House Democrats, the first African-American minority leader in history, Hakeem Jeffries.
Heard his name a lot because he was repeated. His name was repeated all the time when they were doing that entire process of picking the Speaker of the House and Speaker of the Senate, majority and minority leaders.
He won in spite of the fact I campaigned for him. Congratulations to the longest serving leader in the history of the United States Senate, Mitch McConnell. Where are you, Mitch? And congratulations to Chuck Schumer, another, another term as Senate Minority Leader.
Dude, no! I was hoping he wouldn't be falling apart this early. Come on, man.
Majority Leader. About that much bigger?
Yo, just read the teleprompter.
Special recognition to someone who I think is going to be considered the greatest speaker in the history of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi.
No, she's not going to be known for that. But boy, the trial she must have been put through when her husband got stabbed. It must have been terrible. Terrible for them both, actually. I mean, it was not great for him either because he got stabbed.
The story of America is a story of progress and resilience, of always moving forward, of never, ever giving up. It's a story unique among all nations. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. Look, folks, that's what we're doing again. 2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs. More jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years because of you all.
Okay, but what about jobs lost? And I'm going to use this as a chance to transition to a different feed because The Associated Press's feed seems a little bit glitchy, so I'm going to be switching over. But
from every crisis we've ever entered, stronger than we got into it.
I mean, whenever
Folks, that's what we're doing again. 2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs. More jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years because of you all.
Whenever I see these claims from Joe Biden, he rarely factors in the amount of jobs that have been lost. And it's very annoying because it creates a false picture of what the economy is actually like.
And 2 years ago, COVID had shut down, our businesses were closed, our schools were robbed of so much, and today, COVID no longer controls our lives. And 2 years ago, democracy faced its greatest threats in the Civil War, and today, though bruised, our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken.
Unbowed and unbroken, okay. I mean, it's all well and good until you lose the 2024 election, right? Like...
As we gather here tonight, we're writing the next chapter in the great American story, a story of progress and resilience. When world leaders ask me to define America, and they do, believe it or not, I say I can define it in one word, and I mean this: possibilities. We don't think anything is beyond our capacity.
You know how surprised I was that he responded to that with one word and also was able to remember what word that was.
But over the past 2 years, we've proved the cynics and naysayers wrong. Yes, we disagreed plenty. And yes, there were times when Democrats went alone. But time and again, Democrats and Republicans came together to defend a stronger and safer Europe. It came together to pass once in a generation infrastructure law, building bridges connecting our nation and our people.
It was an everything bill. That was an omnibus bill. It wasn't
helping victims exposed to toxic burn pits. And in fact,
that bill, that infrastructure bill, had tons of things in it, filled with pork. It was not just an infrastructure bill. But yes, he did help get it passed.
And in fact, I signed over 300 bipartisan pieces of legislation since becoming president, from reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, the Electoral Count Reform Act, the Respect for Marriage Act that protects the right to marry the person you love. And to my Republican friends, if we could work together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well. I think
that's true. Lots of common ground might be found here. We'll have to see, though.
Folks, you all are as formed as I am, but I think the people sent us a clear message. Fighting for the sake of fighting, power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere. That's always been my vision of our country, and I know it's many of yours. To restore the soul of this nation, to rebuild the backbone of America, America's middle class, and to unite the country. We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view. For decades, the middle class has been hollowed out in not one administration, but for a long time. Too many good-paying manufacturing jobs move overseas. Factories closed down. Once thriving cities and towns that many of you represent.
You wanted these factories closed down. Didn't you say you were going to kind of get rid of like the oil industry?
Our sense of
and coal?
I ran for president to fundamentally change things, to make sure our economy works for everyone, so we can all feel that pride in what we do. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Because when the middle class does well, the poor have a ladder up, and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well.
I'm personally a fan of trickle-down economics, but hotly contested issue. I think there are merits to both trickle-down economics and middle-out economics.
A lot of you always kid me for always quoting my dad, but my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. He really would say this. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, folks, so let's look at the results. We're not finished yet by any stretch of the imagination, but unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low. A near record and near record unemployment. Near record unemployment for Black and Hispanic workers. We've already created, through help, 800,000 good-paying manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years.
Interesting.
And where is it written? Where is it written that America can't lead the world in manufacturing? And I don't know where that's written. For too many decades, we imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs.
What? I'm not sure that what he said there made sense, but
Inflation has been a global problem because the pandemic disrupted our supply chains, and Putin's unfair and brutal war in Ukraine disrupted energy supply.
no, no, dude, you're gonna blame Putin for the fallout of your own energy policies. That's
here at home, gas prices
terrible.
$1.50 from their peak. Food inflation is coming down, not fast enough, but coming down. Inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months, while take-home pay has gone up. Additionally,
has take-home pay been chasing inflation?
A record.
Or has it been lagging behind?
Americans applied to start new businesses, 10 million. And by the way, every time someone starts a small business is an act of hope. And Madam Vice President, I want to thank you for leading that effort to ensure that small businesses have access to capital and the historic laws we enacted that are going to just come into being. Standing here last year, I shared with you a story of American genius and possibilities. Semiconductors, small computer chips the size of a fingerprint.
Oh, that's right.
Everything.
I remember this.
Phones, automobiles, and so much more.
That was exciting. I remember that.
Were invented in America. Let's get that straight. They were invented in America.
And that is cool. Very cool.
We used to make 40% of the world's chips. In the last several decades, we lost our edge. We're down to only producing 10%.
Well,
we all saw what
dude,
during
you can't talk about how great manufacturing in America is and then being like, why don't we manufacture anything in America when you systematically break down the methods that we use to manufacture things in America.
People got laid off. So did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. We can never let that happen again. That's why we came together to pass the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act.
Like, hold on. Like, the environmentalists must be so confused. They're like, oh, wait, do you actually want to get rid of emissions? Then why are you saying that, it's great that we're using all these factories to make all of these things? But then at the same time, there are people like, wait, so you actually don't want to shut down our factories and our plants? What are you talking? Like, this is kind of confusing, to be honest.
We're going to make sure the supply chain for America begins in America. The supply chain begins in America.
None of this can happen if he continues to support policies that will just undermine the energy, the underbelly of the energy infrastructure that we rely on to make everything.
With this new law, we're going to create hundreds of thousands of new jobs across the country. And I mean all across the country, throughout not just the coast, but through the middle of the country as well. That's going to come from companies that have announced more than $300 billion in investment in American manufacturing over the next few years. Outside of Columbus, Ohio, Intel is building semiconductor factories.
I heard about that.
Acres, literally a field of dreams. It's going to create 10,000 jobs, that one investment. 7,000 construction jobs. 3,000 jobs in those factories once they're finished. They call them factories. Jobs paying
they do call them factories, yes.
$130,000 a year, and many do not require a college degree. Jobs. Because we work together, these jobs where people don't have to leave home to search for opportunity. And it's just getting started. Think about the new homes, the small businesses, the medium-sized businesses. So much more that's going to be needed to support those 3,000 permanent jobs and the factories that are going to be built. Talk to mayors and governors, Democrats and Republicans, and they'll tell you what this means for their communities. We're seeing these field of dreams transform to the heartland. But to maintain the strongest economy in the world, we need the best infrastructure in the world. And folks,
we can't do that if we just try to go only on like solar.
We used to be
wind.
number one in the world in infrastructure. We've sunk to 13th in the world.
Yeah, we used to.
United States of America, 13th in the world in infrastructure, modern infrastructure.
We used to export oil too, didn't we?
Because we came together and passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, the largest investment in infrastructure since President Eisenhower's interstate highway system.
We used to be energy independent, is what we used to be.
And folks, already we've funded over 20,000 projects, including major airports from Boston to Atlanta to Portland. Projects that are going to put thousands of people to work rebuilding our highways, our bridges, our railroads, our tunnels, ports, airports, clean water, high-speed internet, all across America. Urban, rural, tribal. And folks, we're just getting started. We're just getting started.
I feel like with the disastrous presidency that Joe Biden has said, saying we're just getting started is like ominous.
And my Republican friends who voted against it as well. But I still get asked to fund the projects in those districts as well. But don't worry. I promised I'd be a president for all Americans. We'll fund these projects. And I'll see you at the groundbreaking. Look, this law will further unite all of America. Projects like Brent Spence Bridge in Kentucky over the Ohio River.
What's the name of the bridge?
60 years ago. Badly needed repairs. One of the nation's most congested freight routes, carrying $2 billion worth of freight every single day across the Ohio River. And folks, I've been talking about fixing it for decades, but we're really finally going to get it done. Yes. I went there last month with Democrats and Republicans, and from both states, to deliver a commitment of $1.6 billion for this project.
All that I've heard, this entire speech has been we're throwing billions of dollars here and billions of dollars there.
I met a young
This is not how you solve problems in your country. Just throw money everywhere.
Sarah, how are you? Well, Sarah, for 30 years, I learned, she told me she'd been a proud member of the Iron Workers Local 44, known as the Cowboys in the Sky. The folks who built Cincinnati's skyline. Sarah said she can't wait to be 10 stories above the Ohio River building that new bridge. God bless her. That's pride. And that's what we're also building. We're building back pride.
She looks happy to be there.
We're also replacing poisonous lead pipes that go into 10 million homes in America.
Wait, we are?
400,000 school and child.
Wait a second. When was this announced?
So every child in America.
I am high. Hold on.
Every child in America can drink the water instead of having permanent damage to their brain.
What?
Look.
I and other political commentators have been waiting for this for a long time.
We're making sure that every community in America has access to affordable high-speed internet. No parent should have to drive by McDonald's parking lot to help them do their homework online with their kids, which many thousands were doing across the country. And when we do these projects, and again I get criticized for this, but I make no excuses for it, we're going to buy American. We're going to buy America. Folks.
But we have to produce. We can't buy American if we're not producing as many things, and we're not producing as many things.
It's totally consistent with international trade rules. Buy America has been the law since 1933, but for too long, past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have fought to get around it. Not anymore. Tonight, I'm announcing new standards that require all construction materials used in federal infrastructure projects to be made in America.
You know, depending on the prices of American products, that could make them be exponentially more expensive.
Lumber,
Although it is good for
glass, drywall,
jobs.
fiber optic cable. And on my watch, American roads, bridges, and American highways are going to be made with American products as well. Folks, my economic plan is about investing in places and people that have been forgotten.
You know what's interesting about that whole thing, talking about how great it is that we're moving towards only buying American? The whole buy American thing is actually how we got into that crisis where we were running out of baby formula because we were trying to buy American so hard that we weren't allowing ourselves to import formula from other countries that had a surplus of supply when we were bereft of any, formula at all in the country.
At home, remember them. You wonder whether the path even exists anymore for your children to get ahead without having to move away. Well, that's why I get that. That's why we're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back because choices we made in the last several years. This is, in my view, a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America and make a real difference in your lives at home. For example, too many of you lay in bed at night like my dad did, staring at the ceiling, wondering what in God's name happens if your spouse gets cancer, or your child gets deadly ill, or something happens to you. What are you going to get money to pay for those medical bills? Or are you going to have to sell the house or try to get a second mortgage on it? I get it. I get it. With the Inflation Reduction Act that I signed into law, we're taking on powerful interests to bring health care costs down so you can sleep better at night with more security. We pay more for prescription drugs than any nation in the world. Let me say it again. We pay more for prescription drugs than any major nation on earth. For example, 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. Many of you in this chamber do, and in the audience. But every day, millions need insulin to control their diabetes so they can literally stay alive. Insulin's been around for over 100 years. The guy who invented it didn't even patent it because he wanted it to be available for everyone. It cost the drug companies roughly $10 a vial to make that insulin.
That true?
In all, you may get up to $13.
Yo, chat, fact check it out. Is that accurate?
Has been unfairly charging people hundreds of dollars, $400 to $500 a month, making record profits. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, healthcare companies have been absolutely gouging people. I'm generally against price fixing, setting prices, but in some of these cases, I don't know.
So many things that we did are only now coming to fruition. We said we were doing this, and we said we passed the law to do it, but people didn't know because the law didn't take effect until January 1 of this year. We capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare.
I thought people were still complaining this month about the cost of insulin.
I'm sure you're getting the same calls I'm getting. Look, there are millions of other Americans.
What do you think about the cold?
Are not on Medicare, including 200,000 young people with type 1 diabetes who need this insulin to stay alive. Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at $35.
That sounds reasonable enough. A reasonable enough cost. As long as it's under enough for the people to make a profit.
Folks, and Big Pharma's still going to do very well, I promise you all. I promise you they're going to do very well. This law also caps and won't even go into effect until 2025. It costs out-of-pocket drug costs for seniors on Medicare at a maximum of $2,000 a year. You don't have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how much your drug costs are.
Why would you?
Why? You all know it. Many of you, like many in my family, have cancer. You know the drugs can range from $10,000, $11,000, $14,000, $15,000 for the cancer drugs. And if drug prices rise faster than inflation, drug companies are going to have to pay Medicare back the difference. We're finally giving Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices. Bringing down prescription drug costs doesn't just save seniors money, it cuts the federal deficit by billions of dollars. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Because these prescription drugs are drugs purchased by Medicare to keep their commitment to the seniors. Well, guess what? Instead of paying $40,
I don't know why I'm laughing. This is elder abuse.
That's a lot of savings for the federal government. And by the way, why wouldn't we want that? Now some members here are threatening, and I know it's not an official party position, so I'm going to exaggerate, but threatening to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. As my coach, that's okay, that's fair. As my football coach used to say, lots of luck in your senior year. Make no mistake, if you try anything to raise the cost of prescription drugs, I will veto it. Look.
Wow, all that bipartisanship, huh? That kind of went out the window.
Americans have health insurance now than ever in history. A record 16 million people are enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. And thanks to the law I signed last year, saving millions are saving $800 a year on their premiums. And by the way, that law was written and the benefit expires in 2025. So my plea to some of you, at least in this audience,
the benefit expires in 2025?
Make these savings permanent. Expand coverage of Medicaid.
No. Yo, no, hold on. That's the whole ploy to get reelected. He's like, yo, these benefits are expiring in 2025. Let's try and make them permanent though. No. The whole plan is to be like, yeah, vote for me in 2024, and then when I come back to the office in 2025, then we'll just rinse and repeat, do the same thing over again. But if I lose the election, then we're probably not going to have it.
A clean energy future. I visited the
It's a purely political move.
Floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires from Arizona to Mexico to all the way up to the Canadian border. More timber has been burned, that I've observed from helicopters, than the entire state of Missouri. And we don't have global warming? Not a problem. In addition to emergency recovery, from Puerto Rico to Florida to Idaho, we're rebuilding for the long term. New electric grids that are able to weather major storms and not prevent those forest fires. Roads and water systems withstand the next big flood. Clean energy to cut pollution and create jobs in communities often left behind. We're going to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations, install them across the country.
Oh, hey, Blue Penguin Studios, what's up? Do you usually follow politics?
And we're helping families save more than $1,000 a year with tax credits to purchase electric vehicles and efficient appliances, energy-efficient appliances. Historic conservation efforts to be responsible stewards of our land. Let's face reality. The climate crisis doesn't care if you're in a red or blue state. It's an existential threat. We have an obligation, not to ourselves, but to our children and grandchildren, to confront it. I'm proud of how America at last is stepping up to the challenge. We're still going to need oil and gas for a while. But guess what? No, we do.
That's interesting.
There's so much more to do.
That's a crazy policy reversal because, like, on the entire campaign trail, originally he was like, I'm getting rid of coal. I'm getting rid of gas.
Corporations begin to pay their fair share. Just begin.
Can't wait to figure out what the fair share is. Has that been quantified yet? Do we know what the fair share is, or are we just going to guess?
Look, I'm a capitalist, but pay your fair share. I think a lot of you at home, agree with me and many people that you know. The tax system is not fair. It is not fair.
That's true. We need a flat tax, a flat sales tax. How is it fair that the government can just like arbitrarily be like, no, you owe more money than we think you did, or oh no, like
that in 2020, 55 of the largest corporations in America, the Fortune 500, made $40 billion in profits.
Blue Penguin
Paid
Studios.
Zero in federal taxes?
Said in the chat.
Zero?
What are you watching?
Folks,
Okay, so this is the State of the Union address. Happens periodically. Generally, the President of the United States will speak in front of Congress and lay out a summary of what he thinks. Basically, it's like he does a highlight reel. He's like, yo, this is what I did. This is dope. That was dope. And here's what I'm going to do in the future, which is also dope. Why is he shouting?
and let me be crystal clear. I said at the very beginning, under my plans, as long as I'm president, nobody earning less than $400,000 will pay an additional penny in taxes. Nobody, not one penny. Well, let's finish the job.
What?
There's more to do.
That's not a promise you can keep, I don't think, is it?
We have to reward.
You should fire the FBI or something, or the IRS or something.
Billionaire minimum tax. You know, there's 1,000 billionaires in America. It's up from about 600 in the beginning of the term. But no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter. I mean it. Think about it.
I agree. I'm a flat tax stand. We should all be paying the same level of taxes.
I mean, look.
Like, isn't that fair? That's like the definition of fair. If we're all paying the same rate of taxes.
Enthusiastic about that, but think about it.
Okay. Maybe Joe Biden is yelling to speak to those in the way back.
Just reported
I don't know. He's got a microphone. They got a dope sound system. I don't think that he needs to shout.
They made $200 billion in the midst of a global energy crisis. I think it's outrageous.
It's not outrageous to make a profit.
They invested too little of that profit to increase domestic production. And when I talk to a couple of them, they say, we're afraid you're going to shut down all the oil wells and all the oil refineries anyway.
He said he would.
Of course. So we're going to need oil for at least another decade.
He didn't say that. No, Joe Biden never campaigned on that. He's flip-flopping. Of course you're going to hold all your money if you think you're going to lose your livelihood in 2 years.
Production to keep gas prices down. Instead, they use the record profits to...
That's an entirely reasonable response.
Rewarding the CEOs and shareholders. Corporations ought to do the right thing. That's why I propose we quadruple the tax on corporate stock buybacks and encourage long-term investment.
But bro, the Democratic Party is so progressive.
Make considerable profit.
The Democratic Party is so progressive. You hear so much complaining about him saying we're going to have gas in 10 years, which is kind of funny.
Paying their taxes. Instead of cutting the number of audits for wealthy taxpayers, I just signed a law to reduce the deficit by $114 billion
Said in the chat.
by cracking down
He does
on
yell
wealthy
anyways.
tax cheats.
It's politics. Expect
That's
the
being
unexpected.
fiscally responsible.
Wait, so he's going to use... He's going to try to make up for increasing deficit by taking more people out of taxpayers'
Administration has cut the
paychecks?
deficit by more than $1.7 trillion. The largest deficit reduction in American history. Under the previous administration, the American deficit went up 4 years in a row.
It was incredible.
Because those record deficits,
Yo.
the president added more to the national debt.
Yo, I kind of liked Trump, but at the time, I liked him.
Nearly
But
25% of the entire national debt
he ballooned the national debt.
to accumulate was added by just one administration alone, the last one. They're the facts. Check it out. Check it out. How did Congress respond to that debt? They did the right thing. They lifted the debt ceiling 3 times without preconditions or crisis. They paid American bills to prevent an economic disaster in the country. So tonight I'm asking the Congress to follow suit. Let's commit here tonight to the full faith and credit of the United
Oh, I
States
see.
of America will
Because
never, ever
following this is expected to be a standoff and potential government shutdown. So that'll be interesting to watch.
want to take the economy hostage. I get it. Unless I agree to their economic plans. All of you at home should know what those plans are.
This is the dude who started this off by talking about how much bipartisanship he was going to do.
Medicare and Social Security sunset.
And now he's like, I'm not giving a single inch.
Blue Penguin Studios.
Let me give you
Said in the chat.
anybody who doubts it.
I don't know.
Contact my
I'm just an
office.
autistic
I'll
YouTuber
give
who
you a
does not know
copy.
any politics
I'll give you a
stuff.
copy of the proposal.
Except for maybe the crap CNBC
That means
airs.
Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, I mean,
Conversion?
if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go.
That's a very like anti-LGBT policy position there.
In a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you.
What's happening? He's arguing with Congress at the State of the Union address.
The idea is that we're not going to be moved into.
And now he's so distracted from the teleprompter. What?
Folks,
some of this speech has been good, but a lot of it has been either like fallacious or just disastrous and embarrassing.
as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be started. All right. I'm ready. We got unanimity. Social Security and Medicare are a lifeline for millions of seniors. Americans have to pay into them from the very first paycheck they started. So tonight, let's all agree, and we apparently are, let's stand up for seniors.
What does that mean? What's he planning on
Studios.
Recommending here?
Why are you watching the former Vice President ramble about this?
First of all, he's the current president. Second of all, this is like the presidential state of the union. This is big news, massive news. This stream alone has 150,000 viewers, like live.
It's cut Medicare. I'll stop it.
This is news. I mean, I like the guy, but
I'm not going to allow them to be taken away. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But apparently, it's not going to be a problem. Next month, when I offer my fiscal plan, I ask my Republican friends to lay down their plan as well. I really mean it. Let's sit down together and discuss our mutual plans together. Let's do that. I can tell you, the plan I'm going to show you is going to cut the deficit by another $2 trillion. And it won't cut a single bit of Medicare or Social Security. In fact, we're going to extend the Medicare Trust Fund at least 2 decades, because that's going to be the next argument. How do we keep it solvent, right?
Keep it solvent.
We'll not raise tax on anyone making under $400,000 surprise bills. We'll pay for it the way we talked about tonight, by making sure that the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. Look.
What does that mean? Do you guys know what the fair share is yet?
In the chat.
Advantage of the tax code.
Wait until he talks about Ukraine being spat on by Russia and Belarus.
All of you out there. I have your back.
That'd be interesting.
We're already preventing Americans from receiving surprise medical bills, stopping $1 billion surprise bills per month so far. We're protecting seniors' life savings by cracking down on nursing homes that commit fraud, endanger patient safety, prescribe drugs that are not needed. Millions of Americans can now save thousands of dollars because they can finally get a hearing aid over the counter without a prescription.
You need a prescription for a hearing aid? What? I didn't even know that.
Without competition is not capitalism.
Just sounds wrong.
It's exploitation.
That's true, but also this is the same dude who's saying that, like, for government projects, we're only going to buy American.
Every good coming into the country. I signed a
This
bipartisan
dude has like contradicted himself like at least twice on very major points when it comes to the economy.
Let's finish the job. Pass the bipartisan legislation to strengthen antitrust enforcement and prevent big online platforms from giving their own products an unfair advantage.
Oh, I see antitrust. Okay, we actually do need to do antitrust. We have antitrust laws, we're just not really enforcing them the way that we should be.
Those hidden surcharges too many companies use to make you pay more. For example, we're making airlines show you the full ticket price up front, refund your money if your flight is canceled or delayed. We've reduced exorbitant bank overdrafts by saving consumers more than $1 billion a year. We're cutting credit card late fees by
Blue Penguin Studios.
From $30
Said in the chat.
$8.
I've been researching the Cold War.
Look.
Cold War was an interesting era. A lot of interesting television came out of that era.
may not matter to the very wealthy, but they matter to most other folks in homes like the one I grew up in, like many of you did. They add up to hundreds of dollars a month. They make it harder for you to pay your bills or afford that family trip. I know how unfair it feels when a company overcharges you and gets away with it. Not anymore. We've written a bill to stop it all. It's called the Junk Fee Prevention Act. We're going to ban surprise resort fees that hotels charge on your bill. Those fees can cost you up to $90 a night at hotels that aren't even resorts.
I can't remember the last time that this has happened. We've gone to hotels all the time as a family. Well, not anymore. We don't, but we used to.
More if you decide to switch to another provider. Give me a break. We can stop service fees on tickets to concerts and sporting events and make companies disclose all the fees up front. And we'll prohibit airlines from charging $50 round trip for family just to be able to sit together. Baggage fees are bad enough. Airlines can't treat your child like a piece of baggage. Americans are tired of being. We're tired of being played for suckers.
Maybe it's just I don't go to like resorts that often or fly planes all the time, but
companies stop ripping us off.
I can't relate to or confirm or even speak much on all these things that he's discussing here.
But not anymore. We're beginning to restore the dignity of work. For example, I should have known this, but I didn't until 2 years ago. 30 million workers have to sign non-compete agreements for the jobs they take. 30 million. So a cashier at a burger place can't walk across town and take the same job at another burger place and make a few bucks more. It just changed. But they just changed it because we exposed it. That was part of the deal, guys. Look it up. But not anymore. We're banning those agreements so companies have to compete for workers and pay them what they're worth.
What? This is terrible. This is absolutely disastrous for companies that value the the reason why they do this is that you have a CNN host who can't go and work at Fox News at the same time. Like,
I'm so sick and tired of companies.
This is bonkers.
Preventing workers from organizing. Pass the PRO Act because business have a right. Workers have a right to form a union.
I will say though,
guarantee all workers have a living wage. Let's make sure working parents can afford to raise a family with sick days, paid family medical leave, affordable child care.
I will say though that when it comes to non-compete, I wouldn't be opposed to it if non-compete terminates as soon as your employment terminates.
Tax credit, which gave tens of millions of parents some breathing room and cut child poverty in half to the lowest level in history. And by the way, when we do all these things, we increase productivity. We increase economic growth. So let's finish the job and get more families access to affordable, quality housing. Let's get seniors who want to stay in their homes the care they need to do so. Let's give more breathing room to millions of family caregivers looking after their loved ones. Pass my plan so we get seniors and people with disabilities the home care and services they need. And support the workers who are doing God's work. These plans are fully paid for and we can afford to do them. Restoring the dignity of work means making education an affordable ticket to the middle class. You know, when we made public education, 12 years of it, universal in the last century, we made the best educated, best paid, we became the best educated, best paid nation in the world. But the rest of the world's caught up. It's caught up. Jill, my wife, who teaches full time, has an expression. I hope I get it right, kid. Any nation that out-educates us is going to out-compete us. Any nation that out-educates is going to out-compete us. Folks, we all...
Is that Bono in the crowd? I just now noticed that.
Competition of 21st century.
Said in the chat, I'm bored.
You
I
want to
think
have
watch
the best
Frozen now.
educated workforce. Let's finish this
I don't blame you, bro.
by providing access
Because I find politics interesting.
for 3 and 4 years old. Studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree, no matter their background they came from. Let's give public school teachers a raise.
I mean, the problem is always that a lot of schools just mismanage the money. They like steal it all and give barely any of it to
by reducing
the actual teachers. And so teacher pay is low.
For working and middle class families.
You need to fix the corruption in the schools rather than focusing on like specific like dollar amounts.
Provide access to 2 years of community college. The best career training in America in addition to being a pathway to a 4-year degree. Let's offer every American a path to a good career, whether they go to college or not. And folks, in the midst of the COVID crisis, when schools were closed and we were shutting down everything, let's recognize how far we came in the fight against the pandemic itself. While the virus is not gone, thanks to the resilience of the American people and the ingenuity of medicine, we've broken the COVID grip on us. COVID deaths are down by 90%. We've saved millions of lives and opened up our country. We opened our country back up, and soon we'll end the public health emergency.
But it's right here. Now, I wonder if he's going to credit Trump with Operation Warp Speed. I didn't like it, but
we'll remember.
The pro-vax people should like it.
It's never going to go away. More than 1 million
like the flu
lost their lives to COVID. 1 million. Families grieving. Children orphaned. Empty chairs at the dining room table constantly reminding you that she used to sit there. Remembering them, we remain vigilant. We still need to monitor dozens of variants and support new vaccines and treatments. So Congress needs to fund these efforts and keep America safe. And as we emerge from this crisis stronger, we're also got to double down on prosecuting criminals who stole relief money meant to keep workers and small businesses afloat.
I thought that some people had been prosecuted for this, but a lot of people who took money that they didn't need, they were literally following the rules, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. You might want to fact check that.
Inspector generals who would protect taxpayers' dollars who were sidelined. They were fired. Many people said we don't need them. And fraud became rampant. Last year, I told you the watchdogs are back. Since then, we've recovered billions of taxpayers' dollars. Now let's triple the anti-fraud strike force going after these criminals, double the statute of limitations on these crimes, and crack down on identity fraud by criminal syndicates stealing billions of dollars from the American people. And the data shows that for every dollar we put into fighting fraud, the taxpayers get back at least 10 times as much. It matters. It matters. Look, COVID left its scars, like the spike in violent crime in 2020, the first year of the pandemic. We have an obligation to make sure all people are safe. Public safety depends.
Interesting that you blamed violence on the pandemic.
But too often that trust is violated. Joining us tonight are the parents of Tyree Nichols. Welcome.
That was a horrific case. I didn't even cover that live on the air because that was just.
We had to bury Tyree.
That was just awful.
As many of you personally know, there's no words to describe the heartache or grief of losing a child. But imagine.
And not the way that they did it too. Like, my goodness.
At the hands of the law. Imagine having to worry whether your son or daughter came home from walking down the street, or playing in the park, or just driving a car. Most of us in here have never had to have the talk that brown and black parents have had to have with their children. Bo, Hunter, Ashley, my children. I never had to have the talk with them.
This is, by the way, a talk that all families should have with children, not just black children, not just black families or Hispanic families. Everyone should be taught to speak
Keep your hands on the steering wheel.
respectfully and behave properly with law enforcement, because white people do get shot too.
Your kid got in a car. Here's what Tyree's mother shared with me when I spoke to her. when I ask her how she finds the courage to carry on and speak out. With the faith of God, she said her son was, quote, a beautiful soul, and something good will come of this. Imagine how much courage and character that takes. It's up to us.
I mean, hey, that's the power of faith, though. Like,
we all want the same thing.
Without a religious, especially a Christian perspective,
law enforcement,
that optimism is not warranted.
Just as every cop, when they pin on that badge in the morning, has a right to be able to go home at night, so does everybody else out there. Our children have a right to come home safely. Equal protection under the law is a covenant we have with each other in America.
We should praise the local police department or the law enforcement for pressing charges on those folks.
Every single night and day. And we know we ask them in many cases to do too much, to be counselors, social workers, psychologists, responding to drug overdoses, mental health crises, and so much more.
Props to him for saying that.
In one sense, we ask much too much of them. I know most cops and their families are good, decent, honorable people, the vast majority. But they risk.
This is amazing. This is one of the moments. There are like moments in Joe Biden's speeches here. They're amazing and better than I would expect out of any Democratic politician.
What happened to Tyree in Memphis?
This is one of them. Bravo. This is great.
Have to do better. Give law enforcement the real training they need. Hold them to higher standards. Help them succeed in keeping us safe. We also need more first responders and professionals to address the growing mental health, substance abuse challenges. More resources to reduce violent crime and gun crime. More community.
Now, if you're going to give them more resources, then you can't defund them.
Job training. All this can help prevent violence in the first place. And when police officers or police departments violate the public trust, they must be held accountable.
Very true.
With the support of the families of victims, civil rights groups, and law enforcement, I signed an executive order for all federal officers banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock warrants, and other key elements of the George Floyd Act. Let's commit ourselves to make the words of Tyler's mom true. Something good must come from this.
I would really like to know the good arguments for
and all of us
no-knock warrants, because I don't know, it's really tough. I can see both sides of that argument. But I feel like chokeholds, if the training is done well, can be done safely.
Folks, it's difficult, but it's simple. All of us in this chamber, we need to rise to this moment. We can't turn away. Let's do what we know in our hearts that we need to do. Let's come together to finish the job on police reform. Do something. Do something. That was the plea of parents who lost their children in Uvalde. I met with every one of them.
That was horrific.
Something about gun violence. Thank God. Thank God we did.
And that is one of the few political things that will, I think, always make me angry.
That includes things like that the majority of responsible gun owners already support. Enhanced background checks for 18 to 21 years old. Red flag laws.
No, we don't.
Keeping guns out of the hands
we
of people who are a danger to
What are you talking about?
But we know our work is not done. Joining us tonight is Brandon Say, a 26-year-old hero. Brandon put his college dreams on hold to be at his mom's side. His mom's side when she was dying from cancer. And Brandon...
Why are we talking about cancer now? What? I thought we were talking about gun safety.
Brandon now works at the dance studio started by his grandparents. And 2 weeks ago, during the Lunar New Year celebrations, he heard the studio door close, and he saw a man standing there praying. semi-automatic pistol at him. He thought he was going to die, but he thought about the people inside. And in that instant, he found the courage to act and wrestled a semi-automatic pistol away from the gunman who had already killed 11 people in another dance studio. 11. He saved lives. It's time we do the same. Ban assault weapons now. Ban them now.
Yo!
Once and for all.
It was like fun, inspiring, and great.
94.
Dude, imagine you're like an American hero who saved lives, American lives, and then you're like, oh, the president is inviting me to, like, you know, to be at this historic event. This is exciting. And then you go there and you learn that you're just being used as a political pawn
So come together
to, like, pass a piece of legislation.
Make it a bipartisan issue once again.
It's like,
We now have a record number of personnel working to secure the border, arresting 8,000 human smugglers, seizing over 23,000 pounds of fentanyl in just the last several months. We've launched a new border plan last month. Unlawful migration from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela has come down 97% as a consequence of that.
what?
But American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border.
What? So now we're saying we're gonna send folks to the border?
And a path
Okay.
to citizenship. For
Hey, I'm not mad. I think that's an obvious move.
Workers,
but-
essential workers. Here in the People's House, it's our duty to protect all the people's rights and freedoms. Congress must restore the right and the Congress must restore the right that was taken away.
The crowd is so good at distracting him.
Give every woman a constitutional right. The Vice President and I are doing everything to protect access to reproductive health care and safeguard patient safety. But already more than a dozen states are enforcing extreme abortion bans. Make no mistake about it.
Let's go.
If Congress passes a national ban, I will veto it.
Well, we better get a veto-proof majority, boys. Come on. There are more elections that we can win in the future. Let's go.
An Equality Act to ensure LGBTQ Americans, especially transgender young people, can live with safety and dignity. Our strength is not just the example of our power, but the power of our example. Let's remember the world's watching. I spoke in this chamber 1 year ago, just days after Vladimir Putin unleashed his brutal attack against Ukraine.
Here it is.
Assault.
Y'all were wondering if we were going to talk about Ukraine. Of course he's going to talk about Ukraine. Here we go.
Europe suffered in World War II. Putin's invasion has been a test for the ages, a test for America, a test for the world. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? Would we stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? Would we stand for the defense of democracy? For such defense matters to us because it keeps peace and prevents open season on would-be aggressors and threatens our prosperity. 1
Blue
year
Penguin
later,
Studios said in the chat,
yes, we
I knew
would,
it.
and we did.
Yo, I mean, I said it too.
And together, we did what America always does at our best. We led. We united NATO. We built a global coalition. We stood against Putin's aggression. We stood with the Ukrainian people. Tonight, we're once again joined by Ukraine's ambassador to the United States. She represents not just her nation, but the courage of her people. Our ambassador is here, united. We're united in our support of your country. Will you stand so we can all take a look at you? Thank you.
I think there have been some moments here where Joe Biden has made some clear mental lapses, but in general, he's actually been doing a good presentation
As long
here.
as it takes.
You know, the arguing with the Congress, though, I have to say, the Union address was not it.
More freedom, more dignity, more peace, not just in Europe, but everywhere. Before I came to office, the story was about how the People's Republic of China was increasing its power and America was failing in the world. Not anymore. We made clear, and I made clear in my personal conversations, which have been many, with President Xi, that we seek competition, not conflict. But I will make no apologies that we're investing to make America stronger. Investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominating. Investing in our alliances and working with
Marjorie Taylor Greene?
advanced technologies so they will not be used against us. Modernizing our military to safeguard stability and deter aggression. Today, we're in the strongest position in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world. Anyone else in the world. And I'm committed. I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world. But make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
I think we did the bare minimum. I don't think it was bad that well, I have entire thoughts about this I could talk about another time.
Winning the competition should unite all of us. We face serious challenges across the world. But in the past 2 years, democracies have become stronger, not weaker. Autocracies have grown weaker, not stronger. Name me a world leader who changed places with Xi Jinping. Name me one. Name me one. America's rallying the world to meet those challenges, from climate to global health to food insecurity.
Name a leader who did what? I'm a little confused.
Aggression. Allies are stepping up, spending more, and doing more. Look, the bridges we're forming between partners in the Pacific and those in the Atlantic, and those who bet against America are learning how wrong they are. It's never, ever been a good bet to bet against America. Never.
What did he mean when he said, like, trade places with Xi Jinping?
Well, when I came to office, most assured that bipartisanship assumed was impossible, but I never believed it. That's why a year ago I offered a unity agenda to the nation as I stood here. We made real progress together. We passed a law making it easy for
Blue Penguin Studios
treatments for opioid addiction.
said in the chat,
We passed
they beat China by shooting down a
gun
balloon
safety,
for no
Nah.
reason.
historic investments in mental health.
I have thoughts about that, but I'll table them
Breakthrough in the
for
fight against
later.
cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes, and so much more. We passed the Heath Robinson Pact Act, named after the late Iraq War veteran whose story about exposure to toxic burn kits I shared here last year. I understand something about those burn pits, but there's so much more to do. And we can do it together. Joining us tonight is a father named Doug from Newton, New Hampshire. He wrote Jill, my wife, a letter, and me as well, about his courageous daughter, Courtney. A contagious laugh, his sister's best friend, her sister's best friend. He shared a story all too familiar to millions of Americans and many of you in the audience. Courtney discovered pills in high school. It spiraled into addiction and eventually death from a fentanyl overdose. She was just 20 years old. Describing the last 8 years without her, Doug said, "There's no worse pain." Yet their family has turned pain to purpose, working to end the stigma and change laws.
I don't know. I honestly don't know who to blame for the opioid crisis.
American recovery. Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. You got it.
Yo, they said it's your fault?
So let's launch a major surge to stop fentanyl production.
Oh my goodness. This is so embarrassing.
More drug detection machines, inspection cargo, stop pills and powder at the border. Working with couriers like FedEx to inspect more packages for drugs. Strong penalties to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. Second, let's do more on mental health, especially for our children. When millions of young people are struggling with bullying, violence, trauma, we owe them greater access to mental health care at their schools. We must finally hold social media companies accountable for experimenting or running children for profit. It's time to pass bipartisan legislation to stop big tech.
Well, social media should be allowed to do A/B testing.
And teenagers online. Ban targeted advertising to children and impose stricter limits on the personal data that companies collect on all of us. Third, let's do more to keep...
What is morally... Okay, hold on. Explain this to me. What's wrong with targeted ads towards children? Morally. I don't understand. Is it...
Job training, job placement for veterans and their spouses as they come to return to...
I'm struggling to see what the big problem is with that.
Afford the rent, because no one should be homeless.
Maybe someone will clip this and tell me.
Who served the country.
I don't know. I just don't see a big problem with it. Like, at the end of the day, the parents should have control over the finances, not the children. You target kids with ads, so what? They can't buy anything.
Here of the VA. We had a first real discussion when I asked him to take the job. I'm glad he did. We were losing up to 25 veterans a day on suicide. Now we're losing 17 a day to the silent scourge of suicide. 17 veterans a day are committing suicide. More than all the people being killed in the wars. Folks, VA is doing everything it can, including expanding mental health screening, proven programs that recruits veterans to help other veterans understand what they're going through, get them the help they need. We got to do more. And fourth, last year, Jill and I reignited the cancer moonshot that I was able to start with President Obama asked me to lead our administration on this issue. Our goal is to cut the cancer death rates at least by 50% in the next 25 years. Turn more cancers from death sentences to treatable diseases. Provide more support for patients and their families. It's personal to so many of us in this audience. Joining us are Morris and Candice, an Irishman and the daughter of immigrants from Panama. They met and fell in love in New York City and got married in the same chapel Jill and I got married in New York City. Kindred spirits. He wrote us a letter about his little daughter, Ava, and I saw her just before I came over. She was just a year old when she was diagnosed with rare kidney disease, cancer. After 26 blood transfusions, 11 rounds of radiation, 8 rounds of chemo.
Wow. Wow.
1 kidney removed, giving a 5% survival rate. He wrote how in the darkest moments he thought, if she goes, I can't stay. Many of you have been through that as well. Jill and I understand that like so many of you. And he read Jill's book describing our family's cancer journey and how we tried to steal moments of joy where we could with Bo. For them, that glimmer of joy was the half smile of their baby girl. It meant everything to them. They never gave up hope. Little Ava never gave up hope. She turns 4 next month. They just found out Ava's beating the odds, is on her way to being cured of cancer.
Yo!
She's watching from the White House tonight if she's not asleep already.
Let's go. That's what's up. That's dope.
We can save. For the lives we can save and the lives we've lost, let this be a truly American moment that rallies the country and the world together and prove that we can still do big things. 20 years ago, under the leadership of President Bush and countless advocates and champions. He undertook a bipartisan effort through PEPFAR to transform the global fight against HIV/AIDS. It's been a huge success. He thought big. He thought large. He moved. I believe we can do the same thing with cancer.
Oh no, don't tell me that you're gonna promise to.
Let's end cancer as we know it. Cure some cancers once and for all.
He can't bring up cancer considering the fact he promised that under his presidency cancer would be cured.
Our democracy itself. It's the most fundamental thing of all. With democracy, everything's possible. Without it, nothing is. For the last few years, our democracy has been threatened and attacked, put at risk, put to the test in this very room on January the 6th. And then just a few months ago, an unhinged big lie assailed and unleashed a political violence, the home of the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, using the very same language the insurrectionists used as they stalked these halls and chanted on January 6th.
You've got conspiracy theories about that.
Is a man who bears the scar.
Believable or not, still a terrible event.
But is as tough and as strong, as resilient as they get. My friend Paul Pelosi. Paul, stand up.
Paul's here. Yo, that's cool. I didn't know his physical state, if he had like healed up or what. That's awesome. That's what's up. Why isn't he standing with Dixie though? That's weird. But that's cool. That's cool.
But such a heinous act should have never happened. We must all speak out. There's no place for political violence in America. We have to protect the right to vote, not suppress the fundamental right. Honor the results of our elections, not subvert the will of the people. We have to uphold the rule of law and restore trust in our institutions of democracy. And we must give hate and extremism in any form no safe harbor. Democracy must not be a partisan issue. It's an American issue.
There isn't really anyone in America that opposes democracy.
They have been called to protect our democracy.
So it's a straw man.
For it. And this is our moment. My fellow Americans, we meet tonight at an inflection point. One of those moments that only a few generations ever face, where the direction we now take is going to decide the course of this nation for decades to come. We're not bystanders of history. We're not powerless before the forces that confront us. It's within our power of we, the people. We're facing the test of our time. We have to be the nation we've always been at our best. Optimistic, hopeful, forward-looking. A nation that embraces light over dark, hope over fear, unity over division, stability over chaos. We have to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. We're good people.
I agree.
The only nation in the world built on an idea. The only one.
See, there's some moments in this speech that are really great.
Other nations are defined by geography, ethnicity. But we're the only nation based on an idea that all of us, every one of us, is created equal in the image of God. A nation that's...
Yo, he's name dropping God. Okay, interesting.
A nation in a new age of possibilities. So I've come to fulfill my constitutional obligation to report in the State of the Union. And here's my report. Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong, the State of the Union is strong.
Okay, I mean, you went with the poetics and the theatrics. I'm guessing that's the last, that's like the end of his presentation.
I'm not new to this place. I stand here tonight having served as long as about any one of you have ever served here. But I've never been more optimistic about our future, about the future of America. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
I mean, that was interesting. There were some really good parts of the speech, and there were some really bad parts of this speech. There were certainly moments that were better than I was expecting them to be. I think the problem with his speech, though, is that he focused a lot on things where he didn't really have strong arguments or statements, or was even entirely correct. So, for example, one of the biggest things that he spoke on was he talked about how we're trying to, we want to bring back manufacturing in America, right? Well, it's really hard to talk about bringing back manufacturing in America if you're also, saying that you're gonna try and get rid of, gas and oil and all of that jazz. But then again, he then reversed course today, and he was like, you know what, we're gonna have gas for 10 more years, which, I mean, I am 100% sure that it is true that we're gonna have gas for another 100 years, but that was never anything that he was publicly supporting. Running off of gas and oil for another 10 years. So it was an interesting policy reversal for him to be like, you know what, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that, we have gas and natural gas and oil and all of that stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to find, by the way, chat, if you guys know where I can find the response to the State of the Union, please let me know, because I'm on the search for that. Not from a copyrighted source like CNN or something. I know CNN's carrying it, but I don't want to be stricken by them. I know NBC News has got it, but I don't want to be hit with the ban hammer by those folks either. So I'm looking for a good source for this. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be hard to for Joe Biden to try and win some support on this, because he appealed to things that we're like, we're not a fan of.
Said in the chat, that was boring.
Was it really that boring? I mean, okay. I am 1000% biased because I'm also a big fan of politics. But I don't know. I thought it was an interesting address. Hold on, let's see here. Okay, I think I'm gonna risk. Let's see here. I think I'm gonna risk the copyright and grab the response. Let's see here. I'm gonna use C-SPAN for the response here until I can find a better source for it. Oh no, Joe Biden did bring a unifying tone in some moments that we didn't really expect him to bring, such as talking about the police, saying that most police is good. That's not something at all that we expected to hear. Saying that we need to defend the border is also not something that we expected to hear, but it's also an issue that's becoming a bipartisan issue as Democratic rulers and lawmakers in various states are kind of feeling the repercussions of having an open border policy. They're starting to come around, and now the GOP and the Democrats are getting a lot closer to agreeing that, we need to defend the border. So that was an interesting policy reversal. It'll be interesting to see if some of these policy reversals stick, or if he's just pandering. He was just pandering to get votes, as it seemed apparent that he was doing with when it came to the insulin prices, because he would say, this is only something that's going to last until 2025, which means that, hey, guess you'll have to vote for me again if you want to re-up on your subscription of low insulin costs. any case,
I told the story.
let me see here. By the way, chat, please be patient with me. I'm trying to find a feed for the response. I think I have one. But again, please be patient, because I might be a little bit behind on this. But by the way, chat, what was your favorite or least favorite part of this presentation, of this speech that Joe Biden did? There were some nice moments that weren't political. They were heartwarming, like, you know, talking about that one kid, not even a kid, baby who beat cancer, is surviving and thriving now at 4 years old when she was given a 5% chance of survival. That was rather nice. But I thought it was, you know, of course, a mistake for him to go back and try to return to his promise to do what he could to cure cancer, when his original promise was vote for me and we will cure cancer. That was his literal promise, and he did not deliver on that promise. Now, we all knew that was an unreasonable promise. CNN said as much, but the fact that he just so flippantly gave it, I think should not just be ignored. We're standing by for the GOP response to the State of the Union address. I'm starting to get that pulled up on my end. I don't know if you guys care about seeing, you know, this feed or not. If you guys don't care about this view, I think it's rather nice, so I'm just going to keep it up. But if you guys don't care about it, I'll go ahead and switch away. I have no trouble doing that. But I don't know. I think the worst. Okay, so you know, we do have some great moments from this speech. We do have some poor moments, but I think the absolute worst moments were when Joe Biden chose to argue with Congress at the State of the Union address. We've never seen anything like that before in a GOP response. And I'm sure you guys have heard the word unprecedented over and over and over again, but it was extremely unprecedented because it's unlike anything that we've ever seen in American politics. You know, the dude giving the speech, you know, just stopping what he was saying, listening to what Congress was saying as they were heckling him, and then responding and arguing. Like, that was, you know, there were some things I expected to see. I expected to see him say true to the shot under pressure, stumble over his words. You know, Joe Biden ignores with Congress at the State of the Union address was definitely not on my bingo cards. Got a secondary feed from News Nation here. I have confirmation that GOP response has not yet begun. I'm curious to hear what Huckabee Sanders will say. Kind of interesting because the folks who tend to give the responses for the State of the Union address tend to be generally considered soft favorites to run for president, but they also often do not run for president. So I would not see this as an indication that Sarah Huckabee Sanders would run for president. I also don't know if she has enough mass appeal or willingness even to run. Also, y'all, let me know, do we have an official start time for the State of the Union? In the meantime, as we wait for the GOP response to the State of the Union speech, I'm down to field any questions, especially now that Joe Biden is not speaking. I didn't have too many qualms with speaking over Joe Biden here, but you know, I didn't want to be overbearing with it. Because at the end of the day, this is a reaction. It's not a reaction if I'm not paying attention to what's being said. I do know I did get some requests to cover some drama going on in the Car 3 server. I will be covering that later on today. I am not quite sure if I'll get to any more critical videos to react to, but I might. Also, if you guys are watching this after the fact, let me know in the comment section whether or not you'd like to see me playing Minecraft or Fortnite this Thursday. I'm working on a collab, and I'm still not sure if it's going to be a Minecraft collab or a Fortnite collab.
Our picture taken. We got a first-rate photographer.
This is my housemate, Brittany Patterson.
Oh, is that right?
Freshman, yes, we live together.
All right.
Thank you for what you talked about around the food epidemic, and you made us all so proud. You did a fantastic job.
Well, you're trying to say that. I was worried it was just too long. Thank you.
I couldn't imagine anyone saying genuinely that Joe Biden during that speech especially made them proud, but okay. I mean, I will say the Democratic Party should be proud because there was some unifying tone that he gave that, again, the Democratic Party never bothers to do.
It really is.
It was masterful. It's a legacy beyond belief.
That's because of you.
Mr. President, I just have to tell you, you got a bunch of proud Republicans want to shake your hand. I want to make sure.
Good to see you. Where in Long Island?
East End, Suffolk County, sir.
Long Island. You ever been to Long Island? It's magnificent. I used to live in Garden City.
Just a little bit west of me, sir, but you're welcome back anytime.
I believe that is Representative Sheila Jackson Lee.
This was a bring-it-on speech. I'm going to run across America with this speech and this thing about American progress. And I think if we lean in, we'll get a Republican that will join us in police reform and get this done in the first 3 months.
I think so, too. I'm praying for that because it's an opportunity.
We're going to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your words.
Does C-SPAN usually have mics that can catch what Joe Biden and the president is saying after the State of the Union address? I feel like this is new. I don't remember hearing every single conversation that was said as the president walks out of the room.
I'm just kidding. I'm getting this selfie, please.
You gotta snap one for the gram.
Did I get it?
There you go.
Oh, I'm did the You're embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
He's trying to make me feel good. She erased it.
You know, I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden, but I would love to meet him. If I ever got the chance to meet Joe Biden, the first thing I want to do is I would want to try playing him in either chess or checkers. No hate if he doesn't know chess. A lot of people don't know how to play chess, but checkers at least. I would love to play him in that. Or Uno.
And we're still working on getting your mom invested.
You know, I like to play in one of these simple games. And take that event, live stream that event. And I think that would probably be the best measure that we would have of his mental faculties there.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
He doesn't have to win. He just has to not say, why? Again, for those of you who have just tuned in, we are standing by for the GOP response to the State of the Union address. Joe Biden just wrapped up his State of the Union speech. For those of you who are not politically initiated, I know a lot of my audience is not. The State of the Union address is it's a common event that takes place in American politics, usually once every year or two. The President of the United States will stand before Congress, give basically his highlight reel of how politics has been going under his presidency, and then give a nice little outlook of what you can expect from his future rule.
The freshmen are waiting on you.
sometimes there are policy announcements, executive order announcements that are given during presidential elections, but the executive order side of things has been kind of a more recent advent, with Barack Obama really championing the move to do a lot of things with the power of the pen, and then Donald Trump unfortunately continuing that legacy and perpetuating it.
That's right. We need you in West Michigan, Grand Rapids.
But yes, in short, Joe Biden here kind of gave us a little summary of his presidency and told us what we can expect in the future. By the way, if you're not a member of the Discord, make sure you go join the Discord. Link is in the description below. You can also find it at dscrd.ntnwb.cc.
And then as soon as I get this nigga get on the lip to you, just like
This is my 5-month-old son.
I love you.
He's I brought him to the
Also, there was that stabbing in Cedarville University. I don't know any new information, but if you have any new information, feel free to share that in the chat or in the Discord.
oh, you got the photo, good.
Details are rather slim. The leading theory does seem to be that the rumored individual is the one who has had harassment complaints against him, as well as the son of a faculty member, but we have no confirmation of that as of yet.
We need to share some
Just a lot of rumors swirling around at the moment. No confirmation.
Every time I sat down with Barack, every morning I met with him. And he started off every conversation. You know what the temperature is in Hawaii right now? 79. He'd say 79. Hey guys, how you doing? Take care of mom and be patient with dad, okay?
Mr. President, thank you again.
Jimmy,
thank you, sir.
I'm holding up the staff. I'm going to get in real trouble.
Interesting.
Get out of here.
All right. The thing is, chat, I want to. There are other things I can certainly talk about, other things I can certainly cover, but I do not want to miss the GOP response.
to help support that effort. I will.
Yes, sir.
So I'm kind of standing by to make sure that I don't miss the GOP response to the State of the Union address.
That's a
My
great
son,
I know you're talking about it.
he died because of it.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
Jimmy Panetta, good to see you.
Jimmy. And tell Dad to take it easy.
Also, I don't have an estimate on how long the GOP response to the State of the Union address will be.
Take it easy, yeah.
Mr. President, we're ready to help you finish the job.
We're ready to try to finish it. Good to see you, pal.
Thank you so much. It was great tonight.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
In the meantime, one of the things that I wanted to fact check and verify is one point that Joe Biden had made during the presentation, during the speech. He had referenced a bill that he had signed in which he was planning on, repairing lead pipes all across the country, I believe. He said several thousand lead pipes were going to be replaced, if I don't miss my, if I remember correctly. Here they released a little fact sheet saying that he was announcing again, new actions and plans to protect various communities from lead pipe poisoning. So here is the official announcement. This is as of January 27th, 2023.
By the way, there's patience required.
Vice President Harris announced a new plan
Again on the California water, we let
to basically say that they're going to fix the pipes faster, I guess.
Yeah, appreciate it.
This seems very informal.
So the two houses now resolved.
Okay, thanks.
The House will come to order. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Oh, what's this?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the message of the President be referred to the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union.
And it took President Biden 20 minutes to get from the podium out the door of the House.
Interesting. So it looks like that feed is actually cut off now. Well, not cut off, but I'm cutting it off. Everyone's actually out of the building, so I don't particularly blame them. Again, We are currently standing by, waiting for the GOP response to Joe Biden's State of the Union address. But in the meantime, let's take a look at one of the claims that Joe Biden made. He had stated that he was leading an initiative that would fix several thousand, communities, repairing their lead pipes, which is something that's been hotly anticipated, especially by people who are kind of like more independently minded when it comes to politics. Because ever since the Flint, Michigan crisis, there have been looming questions as far as the state of our the water supply, various communities. So again, like I had mentioned before, Vice President Harris had announced a somewhat informal initiative between various state and local officials, as well as multiple unions and private organizations. The EPA also announced a new partnership with multiple states to basically create projects to also remove lead service lines. So it's rather interesting. All of that's going to cost 1.2. Well, in addition to that, there's also a $1.2 billion plan as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. I don't know if that actually touches, the lead, water crisis or not. Funny, I'm checking the News Nation chat. Some people are saying, has Sarah been kidnapped? No. Someone else in the other chat over there said, I think Joe finished early. He did. As you could tell, he kind of sped run through this. Generally, presidents will, give time for as much applause as they can. This is oftentimes for the sake of sound bites. Donald Trump did this, in a more exaggerated fashion than most presidents did, because he's very TV and entertainment savvy. And of course, he wants to make sure that he sounds good. So he did a lot of that. But yeah, Joe Biden did none of that. Joe Biden he actually spoke over the folks who were who were even cheering him. He he very often spoke over the folks who were cheering him. It made the speech feel a little bit rushed. Now, granted, how he behaved in that, when it comes to that, was normal. And most people who give speeches, or ordinary speeches, would behave that way, but it's just not customary for a State of the Union address. Some folks are saying no GOP response. There is going to be a GOP response. We are just waiting for it to begin. They might be scrambling because Joe Biden ended early. I'm seeing some television schedules say that the State of the Union address was scheduled to end at 11 p.m. So we could expect Sarah Huckabee Sanders to speak at that time. It's funny, I'm actually reading the News Nation's chats on this. Debbie Learning says, coming for your guns, coming for your tax money, coming from your cars and gas stoves. It's funny because that's literally what he campaigned on. Now, the guns part, he's still in favor of taking our guns. But he did backtrack on the energy stuff, saying that we're going to be on gas for quite a while in the future. We can't continue to, try and shut down gas completely. All very obvious things. Someone in, I'm just going to say this verbatim. Gerald L. Foreman in News Nation's chat said, please, Sarah, no God crap in your speech. I'm quite sure she will. Oh, here we go. She is live. Actually, hold on. She is a little bit behind, which is perfect because that means that you're not going to miss anything. Here is the GOP response to the State of the Union address. Let's see here. I don't know if Fox News is having some technical difficulties here, but it has begun. News Nation has already started this up on their feed. And so while News Nation has started this in their feed, I'm just going to pick this up from Fox News as soon as they begin to feature the stream. Let's see, it looks like their feed, for whatever reason, is not working, so we're going to go ahead and switch over to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Now, please note, this feed will be slightly delayed due to the fact that, I was trying to get the Fox News feed. But here it is, Sarah Huckabee Sanders' response to the GOP State of the Union address.
Sanders. Being a mom to 3 young children taught me not to believe every story I hear. So forgive me for not believing much of anything I heard tonight from President Biden. From out-of-control inflation and violent crime to the dangerous border crisis and threat from China. Biden and the Democrats.
He did have good messaging on the border crisis, though, I will say.
And you know it. And it's time for a change. Tonight, let us reaffirm our commitment to a timeless American idea that government exists not to rule the people, but to serve the people. Democrats want to rule us with more government control, but that's not who we are. America is the greatest country the world has ever known because we're the freest country the world has ever known, with a people who are strong and resilient. 5 months ago, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
It was a hard time for our family, particularly our kids, Scarlett, Huck, and George. But we kept our faith and persevered.
Imagine if she shakes her fist at Joe Biden for not curing cancer as promised.
A successful surgery and the grace of God. I am cancer-free.
That's good.
I couldn't help but think about my mom. She was 20 years old and in her first year of marriage when she was diagnosed with spinal cancer. The doctors told her she might not live, and if she did live, they said she'd never walk again. And if she did walk, she'd definitely never have children. The daughter she was told she'd never have was just sworn in as the new governor of Arkansas and is speaking to you tonight. Adversity and fear of the unknown can paralyze us, but faith propels us to charge boldly ahead. We can't stand still in the face of great challenges. You and I were put on this earth for such a time as this, to charge boldly ahead. I'll be the first to admit, President Biden and I don't have a lot in common. I'm for freedom, he's for government control. At 40, I'm the youngest governor in the country. And at 80, he's the oldest president in American history.
Yo, Joe Biden is twice her age.
To lead my state. And he's the first man to surrender his presidency to a woke mob that can't even tell you what a woman is. In the radical left's America, Washington taxes you and lights your hard-earned money on fire. But you get crushed with high gas prices, empty grocery shelves, and our children are taught to hate one another on account of their race, but not to love one another or our great country. Whether Joe Biden believes this madness or is simply too weak to resist it, his administration has been completely hijacked by the radical left. The dividing line in America is no longer between right or left. The choice is between normal or crazy. It's time for a new generation of Republican leadership. Upon taking office just a few
That is true. We need to move past Trump, or else we're not going to get a new generation.
Ban CRT, racism, and indoctrination in our schools. Eliminate the use of derogatory term Latinx in our government. Repeal COVID orders and said never again to authoritarian mandates and shutdowns. Americans want common sense from their leaders. But in Washington, The Biden administration is doubling down on crazy. President Biden inherited the fastest economic recovery on record.
It's true.
The most secure border in history, cheap, abundant, homegrown energy, fast rising wages, a rebuilt military, and a world that was stable and at peace. But over the last 2 years, Democrats destroyed it.
COVID was still ravaging the world.
Despite Democrats' trillions in reckless spending and mountains of debt, we now have the worst border crisis in American history.
Also, while Joe Biden did make things worse
heart breaks for
at the border,
who has lost
Donald Trump,
or daughter.
at the end of the day, wasn't able to make crazy gains when it came to
from drug overdoses, largely
fixing the border.
pouring across our southern border. Yet the Biden administration refuses to secure the border and save American lives. And after years of Democrat attacks on law enforcement and calls to defund the police, violent criminals roam free, while law-abiding families live in fear. Beyond our border, from Afghanistan to Ukraine, from North Korea to Iran, President Biden's weakness puts our nation and the world at risk. And the president's refusal to stand up to China, our most formidable adversary, is dangerous and unacceptable. President Biden is unwilling to defend our border, defend our skies, and defend our people. He's simply unfit to serve as commander-in-chief. And while you reap the consequences of their failures, the Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day. Most Americans simply want to live their lives in freedom and peace. But we are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols.
Yeah.
All while big government colludes with big tech to strip away the most American thing there is, your freedom of speech. That's not normal. It's crazy, and it's wrong. Make no mistake. Republicans will not surrender this.
She has a good point, because
lead with courage.
Mainstream, like normal people, have been badgered into pretending that crazy is normal.
America.
And normal is crazy.
Families thrive in safe communities where jobs are abundant and paychecks are rising, where the freedom our veterans shed their blood to defend is the birthright of every man, woman, and child. These are the principles Republican governors are fighting for, and in Washington, under the leadership of Senate Republicans and Speaker Kevin McCarthy, we will hold the Biden administration accountable. Down the street from where I sit is my alma mater, Little Rock Central High. As a student there, I will never forget watching my dad.
You know, when she said alma mater, I thought she was going to refer to a university.
Bill Clinton hold the doors open to the Little Rock Nine. Doors that 40 years earlier had been closed to them because they were black. Today, those children once barred from the schoolhouse are now heroes memorialized in bronze at our State House. I'm proud of the progress our country has made, and I believe giving every child access to a quality education.
Hey, yo, but I thought all Republicans hated black people.
Is the civil rights issue of our day. Tomorrow, I will unveil an education package that will be the most far-reaching, bold, conservative education reform in the country. My plan empowers parents with real choices, improves literacy and career readiness, and helps put a good teacher in every classroom by increasing their starting salary from one of the lowest to one of the highest in the nation. Here in Arkansas and across America, Republicans are working to end the policy of trapping kids in failing schools and sentencing them to a lifetime of poverty. We will educate.
Now that's interesting. Would increasing school choice raise wages for teachers?
Time for a new generation to lead. This is our moment. This is our opportunity. A new generation born in the waning decades of the last century, shaped by economic booms and stock market busts, forged by the triumph of the Cold War and the tragedy of 9/11. A generation brimming with passion and new ideas to solve age-old problems. A generation moored to our deepest values and oldest traditions, yet unafraid to challenge the present order and find a better way forward. If we seize this moment together, America can once again be the land of the free and the home of the brave.
It would help if Joe Biden leaned into the unifying tone that he struck on certain members
at the White House
of this event.
Traveled on every foreign trip with the president. A trip I will never forget was on December 25th of 2018. My husband Brian and I had just cleaned up wrapping paper that was shoved into every corner of our house, thanks to our 3 kids. When I had to walk out on my own family's Christmas, unable to tell them where I was going that night, because the place I'd be traveling was so dangerous, they didn't want anybody to know that the president was going to be on the ground, even for a few hours.
Wow.
We boarded Air Force One in complete and total darkness. There were no lights on the plane, no lights on the runway. Our phones and computers shut down and turned in. We were going completely off the grid. Nearly 12 hours later, in the pitch black of night, we landed in the war-torn part of Western Iraq. It was again a similar scene. No lights on the plane, no lights on the runway. The only thing you could see was coming from about a mile away. In a dining hall were hundreds of troops who were in the fight against ISIS, had gathered expecting to celebrate Christmas with senior military leadership from around the region. They had absolutely no idea that the president and first lady were about to walk into that room. And when they did, it was a sight and a scene and a sound I hope I never forget. The room erupted. Men and women from every race, religion, and region, every political party, every demographic you can imagine, started chanting in perfect unison over and over and over again, USA.
You forget how unifying Donald Trump was, especially in a void of negative media
of what makes our country
coverage. Great. Trump was
the young soldier
had some very unifying moments.
Mr. President, I re-enlisted in the military because of you. And the president said, and son, I'm here because of you. Shortly after, that young soldier came up to me. He said, Sarah, you have a tough job. I told him, what I do is nothing. You take bombs and bullets. That's a tough job.
I don't know, this story is kind of boring. I thought you was going to talk more about policy.
For the rest of my life. That soldier reached up and he pulled the Brave Rifles patch he wore on his shoulder. And he placed it into my hand, a sign of ultimate respect. And he said, Sarah, we are in this together. Overwhelmed with emotion and speechless, I just hugged him with tears in my eyes and a grateful heart for our heroes who keep us free. That young man and everyone who has served before him, all of those who serve alongside him, and the thousands we know who will be called upon to serve after him, deserve to know they have a country and a community back home doing our part in the fight for freedom.
Then she should praise Joe Biden's moments where he spoke well of the military, because he did do that to his credit.
Our freedom is under attack, and the America we love is in danger. President Biden and the Democrats have failed you, and it's time for a change. A new generation of Republican leaders are stepping up, not to be caretakers of the status quo, but to be change makers for the American people. We know not what the future holds, but we know who holds the future in his hands. And with God as our witness, we will show the world that America is still the place where freedom reigns and liberty will never die. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.
All right. That was, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed. I was hoping for more policy plans, more, Joe Biden was wrong about this, wrong about that. We did not really get a lot of that from that speech there. I mean, it wasn't like Sarah Huckabee Sanders was necessarily wrong in what she was saying. It just felt very toothless. Because it didn't really say like she was saying too much that was particularly meaningful. Now, I do want to, respond to this because I'm checking Instagram right now. And, we see here, and this is following up on the story about the stabbing at Cedarville University. I'm checking Instagram here, and you guys can pause whatever. Oh shoot, no, never mind. The exposure is manual. But anyways, and the thing is, I like the dude who runs this account, and I like the fact that that he does provide dissenting opinions in a space where dissenting opinions are certainly not welcome, because even though I don't agree with a lot of what he says, sometimes makes good points. And also I think just conversation is better than what some would call just like a hug box, an echo chamber of the same sentiments and opinions being said over and over again. But I do see on Instagram the Cedarville Interpreter leaning into the rumor that the person who got stabbed at Cedarville University is the same individual who is the son of a faculty member who also has multiple Title IX complaints leveled against him, and also has a reputation of just generally being like a harasser and a creep, according to some people on campus. And I will say this, that it's not entirely unrealistic that is the case. I would not be shocked, in fact, if that was the case, because it makes a lot more sense that she stabbed the guy out of self-defense than that she just randomly decided to stab a dude that she just had class with at 8 o'clock in the morning. However, a couple pieces to this too. One, this has not been confirmed at all. This is all 100% word on the street as far as I can, as far as I can gather. So there's no evidence that this is the same person. And also, secondly, the person who stabbed him got charged. Now, one thing about being charged with things, and I talked about this with the Justin Roiland situation, is that if you're going to be charged, there has to be like a certain amount of evidence that at least indicates that you might be guilty. You can't charge someone if you have no reason to do so. Like, let's say that I'm like, hey, my little brother stole my walkie-talkie, and so then I like, and then I go like to the police, and I'm like, hey, I want to file charges against someone for stealing my walkie-talkie. It's my little brother, he stole my walkie-talkie, and they're like, do you have any evidence, circumstantial or otherwise, that he had done this? I'm like, no. Then he's not going to get charged. So the same case holds true here. This lady got charged for stabbing the dude, and it was assault, right? Like aggravated assault, something like that, but also tampering with evidence. Both of these things, that means that at least somebody, like someone in law enforcement, looked at the situation and was like, it makes sense for us to press these charges, because it's likely that something is going to come out of these. So I think there's that aspect of it too. Also, one thing that no one's talking about is there's security footage in the SC and the in the SSC. Basically covers the entire building, and so it's very likely that what happened, as well as what led up to the incident, is on security footage that is in Cedarville University's possession. Now, Cedarville University, as well as law enforcement, has said there's an investigation underway, so I'm quite sure that they're combing over this footage. But I think that, if law enforcement had access to that footage and she was defending herself, I don't think that they would have charged her with assault if it was truly self-defense. So all of that, very dark situation, and we still don't have all the answers. I just don't like the idea of leaning so heavily into something that has not yet been confirmed. I'm going to give both sides equal validity, that it was self-defense or that it was assault, because we don't know either. And that's just what people are saying, but we can't say much more than that. But honestly, in the meantime, I think people are kind of looking a lot to cast blame, or point the finger at in the university in some way. But we don't have any indication of, what might have. We don't have any official indication of what might have caused the situation. And the university, in my opinion, honestly, has not done enough for us to for anyone to condemn them for their actions here. We'll see how transparent they are with their investigation. We'll see how all of that goes. But I would just say sit tight and pray for all the students, because again, a dude got stabbed and had to go to the hospital. That has to be a harrowing experience, and I can't imagine it being easy to just go, about your daily business with the fact that some dude got stabbed in what is like one of the most common areas of all of campus. And I can't imagine that being like an easy feeling or a fun thing to go through. So yeah, prayers for everyone involved. If the person who did the stabbing is innocent of, committing assault and was actually defending herself, pray that she would beat the charges, beat the case. And if indeed this dude is guilty of all the things that people are saying about him, I guess, certainly prayers for, justice in that case as well. You never really, it's hard to say too much about the situation until you know more information about it. But you can't really go wrong with offering prayers for the situation and everyone involved. But in that case, I think that's gonna have to do it. I was planning on reacting to Moist Critical, but I gotta make these clips for the Clips channel. So I gotta have time to do that, and it's getting a little late. I know y'all want me to react to stuff, but I just don't always have time to react to everything you guys want me to react to. There's so many interesting things going on in the world that I'm trying to cover. I wanted to make sure that I covered both Joe Biden's State of the Union address as well as Sarah Huckabee Sanders' response. By the way, soon I will be, talking about potential folks who will be running for president under the Democratic Party, evaluating each of them and what I think about them personally as a Republican, as well as their chances of winning a nomination in general election. So yeah, if you guys know of folks who might be running for president in the Democratic Party, let me know. Send it my way in the Discord. The link is dscrd.ntnwb.cc. But in any case, thanks for tuning in. Peace out.